Yikes. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Shelby and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I've read in the last few months. Notice I said months because I've been gone for months. I'm sorry I haven't been updating. I started a new job and got really busy with just life and school and work. And y'all don't care. Y'all don't know me enough to care, but I'm back. I don't know if I'm going to be posting weekly again or monthly or what's going on, but I'm just excited to be filming again. And I used to do like monthly, like updates on what I've been reading and like tell you all about my Goodreads and everything. And I haven't done that in several months. So I figured I would give y'all a little update on everything that's going on, everything I've been reading, all my thoughts and stuff. So I'm gonna go in chronological order of everything that I read first. And I have not done an update since February. So I don't know if y'all were here in February, but in February I did mention that I wanted to read a lot of books by Black authors, and I really failed on my goal. I read like some of them were by Black authors. I'm pretty sure if I remember right. I can't really remember what I read in February, but I wanted to make it up to myself in March. So this is what I read in March. I definitely did better as far as that, like reading about Black lives and Black female authors and everything like that. I did so much better in March than I did in February, even though February is Black History Month. Whatever. Anyways, I made it up to myself, if that means anything. So let me go in order real quick and tell you everything that I read. So the very first one that I read was Where the Crawdads Sing. I had a sweet co-worker recommend this book to me, and I didn't have it, and everywhere that I found the copy, it was like kind of expensive. So she was like, you know what, just take my copy. I've got two. And I was like, okay, that's super sweet. Thank you. So I read this copy. I took off the dust jacket because I really hate dust jackets. They're just so pointless in my opinion. And like the embossing on this is so pretty. All that leaf. Oh, I love it. But anyways, I read Where the Crawdads Sing. This was highly recommended to me, not only by my coworker who gave it to me, but just several other people thought that I would like it. And I did. I gave it a 5-star. I thought it was great. It is about a girl who has really no education. She does not have a lot of family. She grew up in the marsh, which is kind of like a swamp in the South. And it's all about her getting through life on her own. She was kind of abandoned at a very young age, and so she just has to figure out life by herself. And it was extremely interesting. There is a lot of, I don't want to say true crime, but it has a mystery. Like it's got like a element that I did not expect. I didn't know that there was going to be like a trial, a jury, anything like that, lawyers. I didn't know that it was that kind of book. I just thought it was about this girl who grew up stupid, but it's not. It's really, really interesting. It was very good. I did not get the twist. I actually wrote on my notes app. I thought I knew exactly what was going to happen, so I wrote it down as a prediction with like the day and time and everything and the page that I was on. I was like, I've cracked the code, and then I did not expect it. It was extremely good. It's a great whodunit. It's a great just book overall. I really, really liked it, and so I was glad that I read it. So next, I read a book that another coworker recommended that I read. It was 1984. My coworker kept making references to this book. Like there was a thing, I used to work at Target, and there was this thing that I used to have to say every single 30 minutes, and he kept saying like, it's 1984, blah, 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 like this is just creepy, because I would say it over the intercom. And I was like, you know what? I really understand what he's talking about. So I picked this up at a local bookstore, and it was so good. So good. It is like, I guess you could call it a classic because it was written before 1984. Let me check the copyright date. 1949. So yeah, it was really, really good. I enjoyed it. It's all dystopian. It's about like what life is going to be like if the government keeps controlling everything the way that it is. And it was super eerie because there's some things that they got pretty good. George Orwell definitely did a good job theorizing some things. There's some stuff that we kind of do and it's a little freaky, but I really like George Orwell. I read Animal Farm at the beginning of this year. think it was in January. It was either January or February, but yeah, I really like this one. Another 5 out of 5 for me for George Orwell, and I did annotate this one. I did like notes and highlighting and stuff so that I would get the most out of it, because my coworker read this as an English student in high school, and my school did not make me do that. They didn't make me read 1984, so I annotated it like I was a little high school student again. Okay, so the next string of books are where my inspiration for February came about. You know how I wanted to read all those Black author books, and then I didn't get around to doing it, so these next few books are about that. The next one I read was Hidden Figures. I do not have it with me. I'll put like a little picture up of it right here. I did watch the movie. I watched the movie when I was in history class. I think it was my senior year, because I don't think it was out when I was a junior, but I watched it and I really loved it. It was amazing. It's super, super interesting. It made me appreciate women in science a lot more than I already did, because at that point I didn't want to be a doctor, so I wasn't like, I don't know, like super into the science track. And then I watched that and it was super awesome. It opened my eyes to like how great not only women can be, but just in the time period. I mean, it's insane that those women did not get the credit that they deserved for so long. So it's about that. It's about the space race, and it is obviously set back then in, I think, the 50s. It was really interesting to hear their story in the book format too. But I gave this book a 2-star, 2 out of 5. That sounds so harsh because I really enjoy the story and I really enjoy what these women did. But the author of this book was dry. It was written like a textbook. It was written, I mean, like a history book, if we're being honest, not like a history fiction or history nonfiction. I mean, it was written like a textbook with the hardcovers and the thin glossy pages, and I was not expecting that. And I went into it thinking that it was going to be as fun as and exciting as the movie was, and it was just not. I didn't give it a 1-star because I didn't hate it. It was still interesting and the information was still great, and I condemn the author for being so diligent with her facts. I mean, even though it was boring the way it was written, she had the facts, she had the statistics, she had everything that she needed. She did her research, and you could tell that, but it came across as a research paper almost. So that's why I did knock it down, because it was boring and I'll never pick it up again. And my mom even started reading it and she could not finish it because it was just so dry. But I think it would have been better in my eyes if I had gone into it knowing that, and I didn't. I was not expecting just like straight facts like that. So I was super underwhelmed by the book, but it's still a great message. It's still really interesting, these women's stories, but I definitely recommend the movie over the book. I will say that though. Okay, so the next one I read is Little Fires Everywhere. I had heard so much about this book, so I picked it up at Target after a shift one day. Was super excited to read it, started reading it immediately, hated it, absolutely hated this book. I gave it a 2 out of 5. Again, I really respect it. I respect the book. For a while, I was pretty I was enjoying it at the beginning. Thought it was interesting, and then it just started falling apart. Like, there are just things that never get tied up that you just are wondering like, why, what happened there. It's about this woman who is in this like, I'm trying to remember because it's been like 3 months since I've read it, but she's like in this well-respected place. She's a well-respected woman with children, blah, blah, blah. Like, just the definition of like a white pretty family, you know what I mean? And there is a family who moves in, and not with them, just moves into the area. And they are a Black family, single mom with a daughter. And so we go over their relationship, the kids' relationships, the relationships with the parents. It's like a whole thing. It's a whole, almost like a soap opera, to be honest. People say that the show with Reese Witherspoon is excellent. I might have to watch that because I've heard it's a lot different from the book, but the book was just bad. Like, the book did not wrap up anything. It was just lacking details. It was lacking, not story building. It had a lot of that. It had a lot of plot. It was just like, everywhere. It didn't make sense. It was just bad. It was boring. I hated it. I did not feel like finished with the book when I read it. I was like, seriously, that's it? That's where that ended? That's what happened. So I'm not ashamed. 2 out of 5. It was not very good, and I don't think it was worth the recommendation. People that are so strict about their books on BookTube were giving that book a 5 out of 5. And it, like, honestly, I know this is so stupid, but it, like, made me really concerned about, like, the standards of books that they're giving. I'm like, why are you so greedy to give out a 5 but then gave it to that book out of all things? I don't know. I know that's, like, bad to think. It's an opinion. It's a book. I just really was not feeling it. So humid today. It's raining nonstop and my hair is so flat. Oh, I forgot to mention, I let my mom borrow the book, Little Fires Everywhere. That's why I don't have it right now. And she still has it. She started reading it and was so, like, confused because it's so much different than the show, and she watched the show, and so she just, like, put it aside for a minute. So that's why I don't have it with me. But the next book I read was Me and White Supremacy. I did not read it. I listened to it, but I mean, it's still a book, so I'm gonna count it. But it was one of those books that you could just, like, instantly read on the Libby app. You didn't have to wait for anything to, like, come to you. So I went ahead and started reading that while I was gardening outside, and I really liked it. I really enjoyed the book. It talks a lot about, like, how you as a white person can not necessarily help the situation, but be aware. Like, it's how to educate yourself as a white person with what is going on with race right now. And so that was interesting. It opened up a lot of things for me. It opened up a lot of mindsets, if that makes sense. Because, I mean, there are some things that I'm just not very educated in. I come from Alabama. I'm in the South. But history was not taught the way that it should be in my classes, and that sucks. And so I'm trying to go back and fix that. I'm trying to go back and learn what I should have learned. And so that book really helped me in that sense. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I knocked it down from, like, a perfect because it's, like, separated in parts, and the first part has a lot of you do this, you as a white person do this, you as a white person do XYZ. And I really did not like that because the author does not know me. Do you know what I mean? Like, the author does not know me as a person. They don't know that I do this. I mean, even though I am born with certain privileges and certain things like that, I get that. So yeah, you can say you in that kind of sense because, I mean, I am born into privilege whether I like it or not. But there are some things in there that I just did not necessarily agree with when it was saying that kind of verbiage. Like, if the verbiage was twisted a little bit, like, to make it seem like it wasn't attacking me, then I would have liked it more. And then after that part, it got so much better. It was, like, helpful and informative. But at the beginning, it was like, you do this, you do that, you are blah, 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 blah. And I just really was not vibing with that. But then it got a lot better, and that's why it has a 4 out of 5 in my opinion. Next one that I read is I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I heard that this book was great by, like, several different people on BookTube. A lot of people thought that this was awesome, and so did I. I read it. It was the next one. After I checked out Me and White Supremacy, after I finished with that one of them that popped up as one that I could just, like, automatically download on audio was I'm Thinking of Ending Things. So I got it, and I listened to it while I was cooking and everything. It's very short. It took, like, no time. I listened to everything on 2 times speed because audiobook authors are just like, well, audiobook readers are super slow sometimes. So I crank it up to 2 times speed. Took me no time to read this book. It was so good. So good. I mean, like, there's plot there, but there's not, like, if I really think back about it, there's not too much that happened in the book, but it was just so interesting the way that, like, everything spun. It was kind of like a Shutter Island or a Dream House, something like that, in the way that, like, the whole plot just flips over on its head, and it was really good. I did not see any of it coming at all. The whole time you're like, what's going on? I will say, though, after I read this, I watched the Netflix show, terrible. It's a movie, Netflix original, awful. Do not watch it. But I would read or listen to I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I thought it was great. Gave it a 4 out of 5. It was spooky. It was interesting. I didn't see the twist coming. I wish it gave me a little bit more plot-wise. I wish that there was, like, a little bit more details, a little bit more thickness-wise, because it was so short. Other than that, it was excellent. I really liked it. This next book, oh my gosh, y'all. The Hate U Give. amazing. I almost didn't want to read this book because I'm pretty sure in the genre nonfiction, I mean not nonfiction, young adult. I'm pretty sure it's a young adult book. And I know, just like you know, everybody knows young adult has a bad rap. Ever since Hunger Games, ever since Twilight, ever since that kind of series came out, Hunger Games, it's just, I think I already said Hunger Games. Whatever, ever since the Hunger Games, Twilight, that kind of era, young adult has gotten a really, really, really bad rap. And I have young adult books that I really like, but they're still young adult though, and it makes me feel like, I don't know, like a little middle schooler when I read them. Do you know what I mean? I know that's so stupid and that's too prideful, but that's how I feel sometimes. And so I almost didn't read this book for that reason. I don't know if the genre is technically young adult, but it's in the young adult section if you go to the bookstore and you're looking for it. It's going to be there. It was excellent. Super, 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 super good. I heard people talk about it and I knew it must be good because they made or are making a movie about it. So I read the book. It was great. I loved it. It is about a girl in school and she is facing the world as a young black woman. And she is kind of separated because she used to go to a public school. She used to go to public school. Now she goes to private school. And it's like her two worlds are different. She's seeing everything as like not necessarily like a white people eye, but like her private school is almost all, you know, a white student body. So she's seeing the world through that lens and through her hometown. So it's very interesting seeing just, I don't know, it's so good. It's so interesting. There's a lot of super, super, super hard topics in it. A lot of things that are very uncomfortable. I do agree that it has that young adult title though, because the writing in it is, I don't want to say childish, but it makes sense for a middle schooler to read it. A middle or high, like, you know, 9th grade or whatever. It makes sense because I think they can handle it. There are some hard things in it, but the reality is that there are people like the main character every day who are living these hard things. So I think that it is totally fine if a middle schooler, high schooler, whoever wanted to read it. I think it was awesome. Gave it a 5 out of 5. I found no flaws. I was very interested in the book from beginning to ending. I was never bored. I was never, I don't know. I was always surprised. It was very good. Taught me a lot. Put things in very good perspectives. And I really, really enjoyed it. And the next one is The Help. I read The Help. I really enjoyed it. I mean, you all know what The Help is about. There's the movie. There's the book. It is excellent. I watched the book. I watched the movie when I was in like 5th or 6th grade. I can't remember. It was new. But I watched the movie, loved it. I thought it was so funny. I thought it was really, really good. And I didn't realize there was even a book about it. So I read the book and oh my God, I like it more than the movie. There are things that the book included that the movie didn't. I will say though, the movie, I don't remember it adding anything. I mean, it's like straight on. Of course, it had to take out some things from the book because of time. But I mean, it is like spot on with the original writing. And it is so good. The audiobook is excellent because each chapter is from a different one's perspective. And so each chapter is a different narrator. Oh my God, it's so good. I just love it so much. 5 out of 5, easy. I was never bored, even though I knew the entire plot already because I had watched the movie. It was still so good. I loved it so much. It was excellent. 5 out of 5 for me. So then I read Simon versus the Homo sapiens. It's also like, it was turned into a movie too by Netflix, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me. I think it was actually in theaters. I don't know. Somebody made it a movie. I think it was called Love, Simon. They changed the name. But anyways, I read the book. I'd been wanting to read it for a while, but this was another one of those that's like young adult. Do I read it? Do I not? Do I put my pride aside? What do I do? But I was super interested in it, and so I read it, and it was excellent. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was really good. It just needed more substance, but it's about this boy who is closeted as gay, and the whole thing we are trying to figure out who this guy is that he is talking to. He's talking to somebody online that he's met. He doesn't know who they are, but he does know that they go to school with him. So we're trying to figure out who that is. At the end, we do figure it out. I did not see it coming though. And then he just goes through life as a gay boy in high school. So that was super interesting because his family, he doesn't know how they're going to take it. He doesn't know how his friends are going to take it. He doesn't really know how anybody's going to take it except for the guy that he's talking to. So that's interesting to see how everything plays out. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, especially being a young adult book. I definitely get the tag for that because of the way it's written, obviously, but also because of the audience. I mean, I think younger people that age need books like this to help them because, I mean, if they're questioning things, it kind of feels like there's absolutely nobody in the world to speak with. And so books like this are helpful. They help you. They give you better insights. So I thought it was excellent. So this book is next. I got this one for Easter as an Easter present because I wanted it. Obviously took off the dust jacket, but it is Imaginary Friend. The author also wrote The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I read that book in middle school. I read that in 7th grade, I believe, and then reread it in high school. Perks of Being a Wallflower is great. People were talking about this all over Book Talk. So I was like, you know what? Let me do it. Let me read it. It's supposed to be super creepy. It was supposed to be really good. And so I read it and ended up spending forever on this book. It took me forever to read this book, and it doesn't even look that big, but oh my god, did I spend some time on this one. And then after all of that, after I read this book for forever and spent all of my time with it, I only gave it a 3 out of 5. I gave it an average because it was really, 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 really great for like the first half, and then the second half is good. But the very, very last portion of it, the last few chapters drag on so much and things take a turn for honestly the worst. I was not with it anymore. I was ready for the book to be over. I was tired of it. I was tired of just like this never-ending repeat of, you know, are the good guys gonna win? Are the bad guys gonna win? What's gonna happen? And I was over it, and I wish if the ending was just polished more and just reworked a little bit, then I would have loved this book. I would have appreciated all the time that I've put into it, but no, I came out of it not super liking it, not loving it. It's not a favorite, and it's not a recommend, to be honest. And it was supposed to be super creepy. Everybody was telling me that it was like the scariest book ever and blah, blah, blah. What? Do y'all read horror books? Or like, what's going on? Because it was not super creepy. I mean, there's some things in there that's kind of like, ooh, but I mean, that's it. It's not nothing special, nothing to write home about. I followed up Imaginary Friends with The Alchemist. I bought this book because my brother-in-law loves it. It's his favorite book, and so he's going to college in August. He's gonna be moving away, so I'm not gonna see him much. So I was like, you know what, bud? I'll read this book for you. I'll see how I like it. So I bought it at Target. I love that it has deckled edges. Those are like my jam. But this book, 3 out of 5. Sorry, Donnie. Not a huge fan of it. I really don't understand why you are. It's, I don't know, just like a book of, I don't want to say fables because it's all one story, but it's basically just like about life lessons and about, I don't know, not very fun. Oh my god, I just realized I didn't even tell you what Imaginary Friend is about. It's about this boy who starts hearing voices in the woods and follows that. The end. That's it. Back to The Alchemist, sorry. It's just about this guy who just wants the best out of his life, and he is like listening to everyone around him, and he's just counseling with them, understanding what's going on, getting their perspectives, blah blah blah. And at the very end, it's like this super weird thing. The ending is like what really threw me. I was probably gonna give it a 4 out of 5 until the ending, and then what happened was just weird and confusing, so I knocked it down a little bit because of that. And then the next one I read is Bird by Bird. This is a book that my dad kept begging me to read. This is his favorite book ever. So we traded recommendations. He read A Little Life and I read Bird by Bird, which is honestly not a fair trade because A A Little Life is 500 pages, but it costs your soul. And Bird by Bird was super easy. A middle schooler could read this book because of how easy it is. So that's not a super fair trade. But anyways, that's why I read it. And it's all about being a good writer. It's all about writing, having an idea, running with it, having writer's block, what to do about it. It's just a pocket guide for how to be an author. And so that was cool. But the great part about this book is that it was not like a how-to self-help. It was funny. It was sarcastic. There are stories in here that are funny. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because there is a story in here that I really, really don't like. It is about Special Needs Olympics. And there's something about blunt people being funny, and there's also something about blunt people being really, really rude and just shut up. You know what I mean? Just like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear what you have to say. So that story I really hated because I thought that she was being very, very rude about the Special Olympics. But other than that, the rest of it was good. The rest of it was fun and it was funny. It was interesting and informative and I liked it. That's why I gave it 4 out of 5. I just really wish that she gave it one more passing and took out that story, or her editor took out that story, because it was inappropriate. I'm sorry. But other than that, it was good. I enjoyed it. I don't plan on ever being an author, but if I will one day change my mind on that, I'll go back and read that book so that I can get some more tips again. All right, and the book that I finished after Bird by Bird is The Unbecoming of Myra Dyer. And Myra is not her name, it's Mara, M-A-R-A, but for whatever reason, my brain, every time I see her first name, I say Myra. So I'm just gonna say Myra because in my brain, that's what makes sense. Her name's Myra Dyer, not Mara Dyer. Mara? That sounds terrible. So I say Myra. Anyways, this is a reread for me. I read this book when I was in the 8th grade and I actually stole it from my library. I was a library aide and I found this book on the shelf just chilling and I really wanted to read it. So I started reading it and like the next day or the day after that or something, all the library books were due. So I just like checked in the book that I had returned it and then put it in my book bag and finished it. And you know how like books are due at your library like a week before school lets out? So I finished it in that week and then submitted it like the last day of school or something. I just like put it back on the shelf. So this is not that library book. I did not steal it. I just borrowed it for an undocumented amount of time. But anyways, I really, really loved it. And I didn't get to read the second one because I had summer break and totally forgot about the book. I don't even know if my high school had these books or not. But I thought that I was like the only person in the world that ever read this book because I never saw anyone else read it, never saw anyone else talking about it. Book Talk never talked about it that I saw. And I forgot that this book existed. And every once in a while, I would hear something that happened in another book or a plot line or something. And I'd be like, that reminds me of a book that I really, really liked a lot in 8th grade. And then I would Google like keywords, like key things that happened, and I couldn't remember any of it, couldn't remember the name or anything. And then weirdly enough, Paperback Dreams on Goodreads checked that this book she was currently reading. And I thought that was super weird. I was like, wait a minute, Kat, like that is a book that I've been looking for forever. So I immediately got on Thrift Books, found this book, and found that there are 2 others. This is a trilogy. So I bought all 3 of them and read it as soon as it came in. And I love this book. I really like it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. And I know that's super silly because it's like a middle school book that I loved in middle school. And there's some things that are just like not super well developed, not super well written. But I love it. I thought it was so good and it was fun and it was exciting. And it's not like the best book ever. I mean, it's not A Little Life. It's not going to change the way you view anything at all. But it's so fun. So I gave it a 4 out of 5, and now I'm reading the second one because it's really good. I'm like halfway through this one. And I mean, I went straight from that one to this one because it's good. I really, really like it. And it's about a girl who has this like tragic event happen at her hometown, and it's so traumatic that she moves away, but it's like it keeps following her, this traumatic event. And then she has like these things. Oh my god, this book sounds terrible when I like talk about it out loud, but she has like events going on that like she feels like she's the only one that this is happening to, and she just doesn't understand what's going on. And then she meets somebody else who that is kind of happening with them too. And so it's so good. And all the chapters are very, very small. And I love that because I don't stop reading books in the middle of a chapter. I have to finish the whole chapter in one sitting. So it's great because they're short, so I can do that easily. But this author knows how to break a chapter. She will break it at like the perfect point to where like you're almost there, you're almost to what you've been reaching for, and then it breaks to the next chapter. So I'm like, I have to read the next chapter because I have to know what happens. And then you do that every single chapter, and then by the time you look up, you finish the book. Do you know what I mean? It's really, really good. It's not like outstanding writing. It's not the best plot ever. It's nothing you haven't read before. It's got all the tropes. It's got, the enemies to lovers. It's got the, I'm a broken teen and no one knows me and no one gets me and I'm alone in this world. It's got it all. It's got every trope, and I'm sorry, but I eat it up. I love it. I love it. And it kind of does make me question my rating, like my reviews, how credible I am, but I don't care to admit it. Really like the Myra Dyer series. Then, I've been talking for a long time about a lot of books, just trying to catch y'all up. I also want to catch you up real quick on what I'm currently reading, because who knows if I'm going to be posting like next week or if I'm going to be back or whatever, who knows. So let me just go ahead and tell you what I'm reading currently. So, currently, I'm reading The Handmaid's Tale. It's terrible, and I actually lost my copy. I'm halfway through the book, so I feel like I have to finish it. But I don't know where it went, so I'll pick it back up when I find the book. But I lost it, but it's dry anyways. If I never finish it, I'm not going to be sad because it's not that great. But there we go. I'm reading The Handmaid's Tale. I'm also reading Love is a Dog from Hell. This is a book that is recommended by none other than Harry Styles himself. He really likes this author. He likes their writing. He likes the poems. And shout out to Jack on BookTube for finding this book and recommending it. He has a video, I'll link it below, it's awesome. It is like all the books that Harry Styles recommends, and he read all of them and rated them. And this one, he gave a 5 out of 5. So I was like, must be good. And Harry Styles likes it, so I probably will too. So I've been reading it, but I've been reading it really slow and taking it like little by little because it's poems. You don't sit down and read a poem book from like cover to cover. That's weird. And I'm also annotating it so I can like get as much out of like the reading as possible, because I don't know, poems are just like so, like the pages are just so open and I feel like they're begging to be written on. So I've got my little pocket pal and I'm doing just that. So the next one I've been reading, oh my god, it's so good! Becoming by Michelle Obama. I read this book like almost halfway. I'm almost halfway finished with it. And then my Audible, I say Audible, it's not Amazon, it's Libby. My Audible book credit thing, it ran out. I used all my 2 weeks on it and it got returned. So I'm back on the waiting list to finish this, because the audiobook is great because it is read in Michelle's voice. Like Michelle sat down and recorded it, and I'm sorry, but I feel like there's no other way to read this book. Like my internal monologue, it will not do this book justice. So I've been like following along with Michelle. We've been reading about her life together. It's awesome. I had no idea that she went to Princeton for her undergrad. I had no idea that she went to Harvard Law. I had no idea that this woman was like as well accredited as she is. I had no idea that she was so educated and so highly respectable. I mean, obviously I like Michelle because she's got a great personality and she's cool, but I did not know all of that cool stuff about her. And so I don't know. I just find that super interesting and I really like it and I can't wait to finish it. But I'm just waiting on that hold to come back because my library does not have enough copies apparently, because apparently everybody where I live wants to read it and they're all reading it and I'm just waiting till somebody returns it and it's my turn. I'm still currently reading The Evolution of Myra Dyer. I already mentioned that. This is book 2 out of the series, and I will be at book 3 after this because, I don't know, I just feel like if I stop in the middle of the series, I'm gonna get, like, I don't know, I'm gonna forget what happened or something, so I'm just, like, reading the whole thing at once. And they're not short books, like, it's pretty hefty, but they go by so quick. Like, these books are just, like, easy to read because it's young adult, so, I mean, you're just, like, pounding it because I mean it's written for like an 8th grader, so they're easy to read and I like it. And then the last one that I'm reading is Pet Cemetery. I am officially a little bit over halfway through and this book is so good because I mean, yeah, it's Stephen King. I like Stephen King and all, but I do not own a physical copy of this book, which is weird. I own a ton of Stephen King's books. But this one I am reading on the Audible credit thing with my Libby app. And I have waited since March to read this book. I've been waiting for my hold to come in and it finally came in and I've been reading it and it's so good. I listen to it when I'm driving to work and when I'm driving back to work. You needed a visual for driving. If you were wondering, this is my steering wheel. And it's really, really good. It is voiced. It's performed on audiobooks. It's the same audiobook narrator as the dude who plays Dexter. And that is just end all. It's so good. I found it on my public libraries thing and put a hold for it and waited months for it to come out and it's so good. I love Dexter. I watched all of Dexter twice. I thought it was awesome. Except for the ending, we don't talk about the ending, but it was great. And so the fact that like Dexter is reading this story to me is just so creepy and good. And I'm like halfway through. There's this big event that happened. I'm at the funeral home for those of you that are wondering. We've got some fish flying for those that have read the book and want to know where I'm at. It's really, really good. I really like it. Stephen King books for me are a hit or a miss. I either really love them or I really hate them. That's another book I have to tell you about that I'm reading currently. I've been reading it literally since, I think, December. The Stand. The Stand by Stephen King. His longest book ever. I'm reading it over halfway done. I literally have 250 pages left of this book and for whatever reason I just can't do it. Every time I pick up The Stand and read it, I get like 3 chapters in and then my brain just like turns to mush and I like, it's so weird, everything that's going on. Right now it's like a really, really weird point, like super weird, that I was just like, okay, Steve, you're getting a little too over the edge for me, like a little bit too over. So I might pick up The Stand again. I might revisit it. I feel like I really have to finish it for whatever reason. I've put so much time into the book. I can't just not read it. I've been reading it for like 7-8 months back and forth. But anyways, so I'm reading 2 Stephen King books right now. I'm reading a poem book, I'm reading a young adult book, and I'm reading a nonfiction Michelle Obama book. So I've got a wide, diverse collection going right now. I'm glad that y'all watched this. If you stuck around to this point, thank you so much. I feel like I just rambled for forever, but I miss this. I miss filming. I miss talking about books because I work with different people now. I work at a totally different job and I don't get to sit and read like I used to because I used to take lunches alone and I used to sit and read, but now I don't do that anymore because we all take a lunch together, and which is great, don't get me wrong. I love my coworkers. It's just a different atmosphere and I can't just like sit and talk to them about my book that I'm reading, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I've missed this. I miss talking like this. So whatever, sound off in the comments. I love it when y'all engage with me. I love it when you tell me your opinions, whether you agree or disagree. It's fun. So yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will let you guys go now. I promise to be back eventually. I don't know when I'll be back again because this was a long hiatus, a lot longer than I intended. But I will see you guys next time, hopefully. Bye!